Hello. Hello. Welcome to the Apparent Voice. I'm your host again, Bernita Bradley. I'm so grateful for being here today and thankful for another day. I just wanted to welcome you and invite you to share and like this video, host a watch party, share with parents who are interested in knowing what schools are doing to open, because today's subject is we're talking to administrators of schools and find out what are you doing to open and how do you plan to keep our children safe and how could school look in the fall. I'd like to say that today or yesterday in Detroit, our schools opened for summer school, and a lot of parents are concerned. There was a lot of parents who chose to send their kids to school for various reasons, rightfully so. They made their choice. Educators chose to go back to school and work for children. However, there's a large group of people across the country who have a concern about any children being in buildings right now. We're learning from other cities, even about early childhood programs, how some of them are closing. And just recently, the YMCA, one of the YMCAs in the country had a scare of 85 students and staff members who tested positive. And we just really want to know as parents, what are some of the safety protocols that are in place and how could school look next year? Really concerned about how school could look. And I think the best time to have that conversation is now. And who best to have it with other than administrators, right? Often, parents aren't invited into spaces to know processes from people who are making these decisions, or they're even not invited on the path to develop it with them. So without further ado, I have a longtime associate friend of mine, Wayne Ramakin. He used to actually be here at Cornerstone Schools in Detroit. And I met him when I was doing outreach for Excellent Schools Detroit, and we kind of got this two-way thing of when I needed him for something for programs, or he wanted me to help recruit parents or something like that. It was just like, hey, they got this program over here, let's do it, right? So honored to have him here today, and he has shifted. He is now the regional director of Excel Schools. So he's over 39 schools in the Midwest area of the United States, 39 schools, and he's their regional director. So welcome, Wayne. Welcome. And thank you for coming on.
Very well. Thank you so much for having me. Good to be here. Thank you, Bernita. Appreciate you.
Thank you. So shifted my conversation a little bit, so you have leveled up a whole lot since the last time I talked to you. Okay. And I don't say that in like clout matter. I'm just saying, good to see that you are over 39 schools now. And so tell us a little bit about Excel Schools and what you do there.
So Excel Schools, we're pretty much like a management company. So we have a lot of schools that we manage nationwide. The Pan-Suffolk Learning is actually our parent company out of McLean, Virginia. And Excel Schools headquarters is in Independence, Ohio, which is just outside of Cleveland. So we have both brick and mortar schools as well as online schools. And so basically a lot of schools that we have acquired is when the schools that were failing, they kind of approached us and asked us to take it over and turn it around. So we also specialize in school turnaround. And that's kind of the long and short of it. Mm-hmm. And so I am over the Midwest there, which is Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio. And like we talked about, the 39 schools total. And we're an international company. We have schools in Dubai, London, Australia, UK, but okay. I'm over the North American side of it as well.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So as far as Michigan, I guess I would really want to know for our parents here in Michigan, other places too, but in Michigan, what are a couple of the Excel schools that you
Inkster Preparatory Academy in Inkster. We have Woodland Leadership Academy in Saginaw, in Roseville. We also have quite a few schools around here. Not
Okay.
too many. Toledo Prep Academy down in Toledo, just on the border of Michigan, Toledo. So yeah, quite a few schools. Those are some of the schools that we have in our network.
Okay. Okay. Good. And so let's get down to it. Parents are concerned. Like we actually will have a survey that's going out this evening about testing and how parents, see opening schools to look for them and how they hope that it'll look. So you were explaining to me a little bit earlier, you started to explain that you had 3 plans in place. First, when do you expect to open in any of the areas?
Right. So we are the first plan, of course, is hoping that everything gets back to normal, where we can do a traditional opening like we normally would. So that's one plan. The second plan is to have half and half, which is if we do open, but we have to caution, we'll open with reduced children in the building. And so we will have to approach it with the angle of having in-person instruction as well as online instruction. And the third plan is if we just are not able to open, to have a strictly online instruction. So those are the 3 plans that we have going. And we're just gauging it month to month because it changes so rapidly. As things change, then we have to adapt. And we are prepared and ready to execute a plan that is applicable depending on the climate as the fall approaches. But either way, there will be school, but it'll be one of the 3.
Okay. So are parents do you have at the schools or in the regions any like parent groups that are helping to plan how you guys are opening or getting, input from community members?
Okay, so yes and no. In terms of, we have a very strong PTA presence at all the campuses. So those are the parents that we are talking with. But it's in terms of additional outside, no, not really, because each school, although we are, a large organization and we can pull from, the best practices from different campuses, we are also of the persuasion that every campus is personalized to the parent, the demographic, so on and so forth. So we try not to use a cookie cutter approach. So we keep our parents very engaged and have ongoing dialogue to find what works best for this campus.
Okay. Okay. So they're still in that planning process, like they're kind of telling you what they feel is, okay.
Exactly.
Now, so no, let me backtrack. And I know it was trying for everybody, how was your experience with online schooling with the kids? When the children went home from your schools, did they go home like first day with tablets and things like that?
So unfortunately, that not initially, because we only had enough technology for on campus, where they go to the computer labs and so forth. And, we would recycle the laptops and for the kids while on campus. So once things were shut down, they had to go home. We had to find the resources and purchase laptops and technology so they could lease. For those who didn't have it, they could lease, or when I said lease, sign an agreement, they're not paying for it, but they would lease the equipment, take it home. And for some families, we found that some of them didn't have a Wi-Fi connection and they didn't have the ability to go to a library or anywhere. So we had to buy hotspots and also lease that to them. So that was additional, outlay of capital, but we had to make sure that they were engaged somehow and had access to online instruction. So it was about maybe a 2-week delay in getting all of them their technology for those that didn't have it. But the first phase that we did, though, was we identified the most critical families who didn't have or current technology that we had that we were using in our computer labs. We used those and leased those out, and then we had to buy additional ones. So yeah, we had to find a way.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now, so with school possibly being like twofold, online and in person, have your teachers, like how has this been to get the teachers acclimated to online learning? Because we know like the beginning was pandemic learning, right? So now parents are asking like, what is going to be different? Because there's some teachers who are just like, I've never taught online and this is totally different. But what's going to be different now? Have you gotten them some type of coaching, professional development? What's happened for your schools?
Right. Right. So, so yes. So so the first step was for the teachers to upload their the work that the kids would have been doing in the classroom. We uploaded that. Then there was a link where all the families could go and click on that link, and they would have the work to do. And then we will have a scheduled Zoom with the kids. And I think that the teachers are doing it in clusters of 10, and they would do so. So our academic coach and the principals were very awesome in giving a quick crash course and quick professional development training, if you will, to get them some acclimated, and that was ongoing. So it got better every week. But initially, there was a quick crash course to help them on how to best engage the kids in online learning. And right now, I think we've perfected it. But it took us about a good maybe 3 to 4 weeks to get it to perfect it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I heard you say coaches. So how many new staff have you had to hire? Because everything's totally different now.
Right. So the good thing about it is that we didn't have to hire new staff. But in terms of teaching, we have hired new staff in terms of like from a janitorial standpoint once school starts back, to kick off that. But initially, right now, we didn't have to hire any new staff. We were able to work it where the teachers were able to keep their students and families engaged without we having to do that. Plus, it would not have been good to hire new staff that the kids were not familiar with anyway. So, yeah, we want to keep them, familiarity. And so we were able to work it out where the teachers were able to engage the students. But of course, like I said, 10 or 15 at a time versus the, 20, 30 that they normally would. And so I had to set up a schedule. And it worked. One of the things that we thought was not going to work, but it worked. We ended up having what we call afternoon school. So
what is that? What you call it?
Afternoon school, right? So we had to do it in shifts because you wanted to be effective. And then of course the teachers know the kids, so they scheduled such a way that they had 10 or 15 kids at a time and did it in 2 shifts. And it worked great. It worked great.
Okay. Wow. So teachers are being prepared for this online thing, and then I have to ask, so for students who are like IEP students, what type of supports are in place for them? Because everybody may not be that distance learner, right?
Right.
And how are those IEPs being honored right now by for parents and students,
Yes. Very good question, because that was one of our major concerns, because we know that IEP distant, Zoom is not the same as in person. And so that's something that it works good for us on the flip side that we didn't expect, because when the kid is at school, their parents are not there with them. So it was just a teacher and the child. So we found that we were able to still follow through and honor our IEPs, but because the parents was in the mix now with the child, the parent became that support. And it helped the teacher. And now the parent is able to see firsthand what we would have done at the school. And so it to be honest, it worked out even better for us, because the parents was able to give that support with the child via Zoom as a teacher was working with a child. Of course, I was not on the instructional to see, but getting the feedback and talking with the kid, that's one of the feedback that I got, that unexpectedly the parent became a great support.
Okay. So, but what about for some of the parents who don't know how to get that support, right? Because I know some kids have particular coaching support with IEPs. Is that available? Will that be available in the fall for kids?
That's a good question. Well, from what we've seen so far, of course, school is out now, but what we saw up to the point that school was out, we saw that in terms of the IEP, what we saw overall is that most of the parents saw firsthand what we were doing in terms of IEP, and so the teacher was working with them more closely, and so we found that the parents, now that they saw and they experienced a classroom session, and where the teacher was providing the IEP services, that It worked great. I can't know the way of saying, but we found that it worked surprisingly even better than the classroom. So from that side, we found that we prefer to continue this. That's something that will be continued because we learn from that. Not going in, not expected to do that, but that's what ended up happening. So we haven't found any parents that had a pushback or there was any issues where that was concerned, because every parent loved the child, and once they saw how things were unfolding, they automatically became a part of it, a part of the equation.
Mm-hmm. And so I guess one more question about IEPs. In the event that there is parents that are like, look, because they're going back to, most of them are going back to work this time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as they go back to work, they may not be there, right?
Mm-hmm.
They may have agreed to, walk along this journey with their kids. But right now, it's not that they don't want to, they can't.
Right.
So for those IEPs, like, is there additional coaches that'll be available to have other sessions with those kids, or in person more while they're in the buildings or something like that? I don't even know how to describe it, but
so that's something we have to evaluate, because right now we're not having kids in the building. There's a very tough question to answer, but if they need it, once they get back, like you mentioned, parents going back to work and all of that, we will have to work it out in terms of the kids coming in. For example, one of the things we'll talk about in our option 2, if we have to do half and half and reduce the amount of kids in the building, social distancing and all those have to be honored. So I'm sure that we will incorporate some form of special education resources to our kids while observing social distancing. So if that's something that we have to have, yes, we're very much prepared to do that.
Yeah, well, that's what a lot of parents have been concerned about that. A lot of parents want to know, like, when my child, because I think parents have been gracious enough to say for a minute, like, we're on hold, we're on this pandemic, but now when you return, we don't want IEP students to fall through the cracks, and then there's no support, and they just kind of like ease through and they fall behind, right?
Right. Yeah, we'll make sure that that's something's at the top of the list, because IEP, of course, we have a mandate first of all.
Yeah, most definitely. But look, I'm not trying to go there like with the mandate, but I'm trying to like get people to understand. You got to keep them. You got to keep them there.
Exactly.
You got to make sure you have the supports in place, because the babies are coming back, right? And when they come back, they're gonna still need those supports.
Exactly.
And if there's families, I know there was a lot of families during the pandemic who were in the process of renewing their IEP. So it's like, if they're renewing that, that needs to happen when schools start back, to make sure it's in place.
Correct.
And that kids don't just, because I had a principal who asked me, my daughter has a 504 plan, and the principal asked us to kind of like be gracious with us. This is a pandemic. But then when my daughter needed something, some support, it was like, well, you have to understand. It's like, yeah, but you have to understand. Like, I've been gracious with you for a while, right? So now I need some type of grace for my daughter. Like, I've legally adjusted my federal document to accommodate this whole pandemic. And I understand as parents that everybody's going through it. But right now, as plans are being made, we want to make sure that IEP support stays at the forefront of these plans that are being made.
Absolutely, and that will always be a priority.
Yeah, and then and just so you know, and I know everybody doesn't take light about. I mean, everybody doesn't take it as serious as you. Everybody don't look at it like it's a federal document. They know it's a federal document, but they don't look at it like that.
Very true.
In all honesty.
Very true.
The other thing is, so back to this going to school. So we're talking about the day on, day off, possibly. Last week we were on with a viral specialist, and I know you guys have your plans in place and have adjusted some stuff, but she made a very good suggestion that I didn't even think about, and I don't know how many people probably have, but 14 days on, 14 days off schooling. And she's from University of Michigan, Dr. Ovita Fuller. And
Okay.
one of her analogies was that the 14 days on gives that classroom time enough for them to not keep switching out kids. So these 14 kids stay in the building for 14, for 2 weeks together. And if there is any type of cross-contamination or something, then it's less likely for it to have spread it to more people. And so it's more like schooling in an incubation time frame.
Okay. Okay.
And that was the first time I ever heard of that, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with she's done research on HIV, Ebola, and something else, hepatitis, I think it was.
Okay.
But she was even like saying, like, if schools aren't doing what they're supposed to do, parents should homeschool. And that's where I feel too. But that analogy that she gave actually made me like, I didn't think about that. That sounds so much better, because then you have those kids together. So that's one suggestion.
Yeah.
But what are some of your protocols in the event that a kid does test positive or a teacher tests positive?
Right. That's a very good question. That's something that we are in discussion with right now, to be honest. We don't have a set guidelines or protocol where that's concerned. We were on the, getting back, we had as far as opening up and what it looks like when we open up. One of the discussions that we have, but it's not confirmed, but one of the things we're talking about is if a teacher tests positive or if a child tests positive, that there has to be an automatic 14-day quarantine with not just the teacher, but the kids as well. But we don't know what that looks like as yet. So we are talking about that, but that would have to be automatic first and foremost, and then we have to translate, how do they come back, so on and so forth, people they're in contact with, so on and so forth. So that's something that we are discussing. But I can tell you this much, that there will be an automatic 14-day quarantine.
Yeah. And Dr. Ovita, she spoke about that too. She spoke about the summer protocols. And I mean, I can connect you to her also.
Okay.
Again, she's with University of Michigan, and we have the top three, third top ranking hospital in the country.
Yes.
And her research, everything she was saying was so dead on, and it kind of like eased me some. It eased me with all the questions I'm having. And
I appreciate that.
So the 14-day quarantine, with that, parents have asked what supports are in place with that. So a child or a teacher, educator has to go home. They're in quarantine for 14 days. When they come back, will they have gone through some type of online schooling? If they're physically able to, right?
Yes.
But online schooling, what else?
Yes. And so that's the conversation we're having, is that automatic quarantine, and then that if they're able to, they will not lose out in instruction if they're able to keep up. So depending on how ill they are and so on and so forth. So that would be an automatic thing. So it kind of plays into what the plan we have is that we were talking about families, students coming on campus. We have a rotation 2 to 3 days a week, so that you have X amount of students on campus, no more than 15 kids in the classroom. Part of the protocol, and so every classroom will have stations for the wipes and the hand sanitizers and all of that. And not only masks, we'll have face shields is what I'm talking about, because masks can be very cumbersome and very uncomfortable. So we have, we're investing in face shields rather than masks. Although it's recommended to have shields and masks if you can do it. But the shield was found to be more comfortable and same effect. So also part of the plan that we have is a teacher's teaching. It has a period with their kids. Before they leave, then every child has to take the wipes that they will have in the classroom and clean out the desk and the chairs and everything, for the next classroom to come in. So no matter where they go, it's going to be a standard way of doing things. A new SOP is that you have to clean behind yourself. Gloves, so on and so forth, have all of that. We are like I mentioned earlier, we are hiring new janitorial staff to clean the bathroom every 15 minutes. It's uncharted territory. It's a new way of doing things, but so shift school is basically what our new phrase is right now, that we're going to have shift school.
You said shift school. Okay,
Shift
I
school.
like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And one of the things we're also talking about is even kids coming later in the day. So you have kids early in the day, kids come later in the day. They want to have a full day of school, but the core subjects that is very important to have in person, then we will schedule those. The other subjects like English and those that you don't have to have in person, then those will do online. So that's how we are moving things around to make sure they get a full experience, and stagger the kids coming in, so they're not all coming at the same time. Yeah. Okay. So because safety is paramount. It's number one.
And the kids will still have those hot spots and everything.
Yes, for those that are home, yes. For those that don't have internet, then we will have made the hotspots available to them. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Back to protocol. So the cleaning people that are coming in. So I had this question yesterday of somebody. I said, are they trained? Are they standard cleaning people? Are they trained to like really deep dive disinfect the schools? DPS has, I know, markers on their wall or posters on their walls where they mark off the time the bathroom's been cleaned and all of that. Will you guys have all of that?
Yes, we'll have all of that. So what we do, we go to the CDC and WHO, and we look at the standards that they have set, and based on those standards, and we research the different chemicals and things that they have to use, and based on those standards, our janitorial staff is trained. We have in the evenings, besides our janitorial staff in the day, in the evenings we have a certified janitorial company comes in and do a clean on a regular basis. In the evening when school is out. So that's the company we're using because the fact they're a commercial company, they have commercial grade cleaning agents and all that. So they're the ones that's training our janitors how to clean the bathroom. So we're not just hygienic and cutting them loose, but they're getting official training and certified that they know how to clean according to the WHO and the CDC guidelines.
Yeah. Are the kids taking their masks and stuff home? So parents had questions around, will they be responsible for purchasing PPE? You already said that the school is providing the PPE, yes. But are they taking those things home and bringing them back, or are we keeping them in the building to make sure that they're safe and clean?
The masks, we don't want those to be reused. The masks will discard off. Unless this mask that they made is someone made for them, but the masks that would come to buy the box and gloves. So there'll always be masks and gloves available, disposable masks and gloves available. And the shields, of course, they'll clean out the shields, of course. But the mask and glove is not reusable. We let them know to discard of those and not to reuse those.
But they'll have them available every single day.
Every single day, right? They'll be ongoing supply of the schools. School. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so parents don't have to worry about any of that.
No.
So, I guess I need to check time and see what time it is. Oh, we got a few more minutes. We got about 10 more minutes. So I'm just thinking through every step, right? I'm thinking through every question that I can think of. Online learning.
Yes.
If parents opt out and say, I want to homeschool, but I do want them to take a couple of your online, what does that process look like? Are they able to do that?
No, because you either enrolled or you're not enrolled.
Okay.
And so
why you say no?
What I mean by that is if you're enrolled in the school, okay, let me answer it from a administrative standpoint first of all.
Yes.
If a child is enrolled in the school, then it's required, or there's certain expectations of the amount of credits, classroom, hours, so on and so forth. And so if you opt out of that, then you're disenrolling, so to speak.
Okay.
So if you're disenrolled, then you're no longer a student, so we cannot give you the support. However, teachers and parents have created a bonded friendship, so we're not going to tell a teacher you can't support the parents if they're not a student. But from a school standpoint, and you're not a part of the roster, then there's no support from you from the school standpoint. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Because you either enrolled or you're not enrolled. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's just, we cannot commit to you if you're not a student that's enrolled in the school or family enrolled in the school.
Yeah, but if a parent decides, like, I want to opt to just do online schooling at home.
Oh,
Yeah. For
yes,
your
yeah, I'm sorry.
school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize. I misunderstood your question.
No,
Yes.
that was two separate questions. That was two separate. So
Okay.
one is homeschooling, because we
Yes.
have a large bucket of parents who are considering homeschooling.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they would like to possibly take like a couple of courses with another
Yes.
school, like maybe not
Yes.
their traditional school. Is that
Yes.
possible? Maybe I should word it different. So
Yes.
parents are literally saying, I want
Yes.
to homeschool, but
Yes.
now I have this opportunity for my child to go to Excel schools. And
Mm-hmm.
I can I ask Excel, can I take my reading and math with you?
Mm-hmm.
And I live in Detroit, and
Mm-hmm.
like right now, this is
Mm-hmm.
my school. But the rest of the time, my child will still live in Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
but be in Excel's school that's right by Toledo or whatever.
Okay. So this is uncharted territory, of course, like I mentioned earlier. And we have talked about giving parents a full online experience, not a partial. So I don't know how to answer the partial right now.
Okay.
But what we've talked about is families who feel that it's not safe to come to school and want to put their kids back in the building right now. Then yes, we are prepared to give them the full online experience. A partial online experience, I don't know, honestly. We have not explored that because that's not a topic that we have discussed or questions that have been asked to us. But
discuss that. You should discuss that because
right,
there's a lot of people thinking about it.
Right. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I've not had that question asked. Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. We will explore that.
Yeah, a lot of parents are considering homeschooling right now. And some of them are like, well, can I homeschool and put them in another program or put them in another school district or something like that? And so they're reaching for all different options. And right now, if it's a possibility, they would love to know that it's a possibility. You know?
Right. So I'll answer it like this as well. So one of our schools, we were forced to close for earlier last year, right before the pandemic. And school in Roseville, and there are a lot of students that wanted families that were heartbroken that we were forced to close the school. So we were able to give them online experience through one of our other campuses, or Inkster campus. So they live in Roseville at East Point, and that's Warren. But they were able to enroll at my Inkster campus and got an online experience because they could not make it to Inkster, but they were able to do online. So from that perspective, we are prepared to give them that online experience, yes.
Okay.
So they can live no matter where. They could live in Saginaw if they want, and enroll at Inkster.
And what about credit recovery for some of the kids? Do you have any credit recovery for some of the kids who may have been behind? Well, I guess not behind last year, but some of the seniors who may have had to take credit recovery, will you have that this year for kids?
Yes, so I don't have it in high schools in the Detroit area, but I have high schools in my Ohio schools and in Illinois, and we have credit recovery programs available for the kids. Yes, unfortunately, though, most of the programs there's a cost involved. Where it's an online program and there's a cost involved on the parents' part. But yes, the opportunity and the ability for credit recovery is available to them, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me think. What's some other questions? I mean, it's just been the conversation has been parents are trying to figure it out, and parents are like thinking totally out of the box. And I think we should think out of the box. I think parents have, because our kids are actually a hot commodity right now. You know that, right? And so with children being the most prized possession that we have, we should explore all options. So what's a little bit of the differences between Ohio and like here? Because Ohio generally open up school
late August.
Late August?
Yeah.
They're a little bit before Michigan?
Yes. Michigan is the day after Labor Day, and Ohio is like a few weeks before that. They're mid to late August.
Okay. And then Indiana, where does Indiana stand?
Same as Ohio.
Okay.
And Illinois is pretty much like us.
Yeah. Okay. So so will you be prepared by then to open?
The way things are looking, yes, because like I mentioned, we have the three plans in motion that we're poised to execute, the one that depend on the climate. So yes, we will be open in the fall. Just which ones we're not sure as yet, but the one that is up front right now, as far as number
Your
one.
camera went out, Wayne.
Oh wow, a call's coming. Sorry. Sorry.
That's okay.
I apologize for that.
Okay.
A call is coming in and knocked us out. So we do have the number 2 plan, which is a half and half. That's a plan that is at the forefront right now, because it looks like that's the way we're headed. It looks like that we will open back up in the fall, but with a reduced population for the students based on what COVID is doing right now. So, but yes, we will definitely be open.
And will you be prepared to close if you honestly need to close?
Yes. So that's option number 3. And when you say close, for us,
in the event that numbers get so high and it's really like, this is not, because in I think it's Hong Kong, like they're closing down all schools. They're saying like, we can't do this, right? Will you honestly be willing to close down and just say, let's try this just online for everybody, just period?
Yes.
Break it down, because this is putting kids' lives at risk.
Yes.
And educators' lives, right?
Yes. That's option number 3. And that's the worst case scenario, option number 3, and we are prepared to go that route if that's what ends up happening.
Yeah.
If Arizona, California,
even after
Texas,
you opened up, well, I guess I should have said, once you open up, if you see you have to close back down, you still
yes. Just like when we had to, adapt in March and go online. The good thing about actual schools is that because we have a robust online schooling system already in place, it was not hard for us to make that shift, because it's not something that's foreign to us. It's something that we do already with a lot of our other schools that we have across the world. We don't have online schools in the U.S., but we're able to use those best practices and quickly adapt and make it happen for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the parents teachers conference, all of that, so everything's about to be online, right? Like
Everything.
No parent teachers conference in the building.
Right. When we shut down in March, all the meetings that we had, the parent teach, everything was by Zoom. So we didn't miss a beat in terms of meetings. Even events that we had scheduled, we still had events, but it was via Zoom. We made it happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had I wouldn't say Black History Month, because that was after Black History Month, but you had like an Easter program online.
Right.
Okay.
All of that was still online. So the kids didn't lose out on the experience. It was not the same robust experience that we have in person, but nothing stopped, I guess is the point I'm making. We found a way to make it work. And the families are very patient, very understanding, because of course, no one asked for this, but they all participated, and the turnout was just as great.
Okay, so anything you want to share with us about the schools? Like, parents just really want to know from leaders, and that was one of the reasons why I invited you on. Like,
I appreciate
what's your plan? What's next? Because we're hearing a lot in media and a lot through emails. I think I probably got a million emails from my daughter's school, and nothing is satisfactory. Everything is just like, well, we don't know, right? But we want to know, like, if you open and kids test positive, will you honestly tell parents that, look, we've had this many? Okay, that's a question. Will you tell parents we've had this many kids test positive? And we're either closing down or we're not closing down. What's going to be the protocol for that?
Right. So here's what in our mind what it looks like come the fall, and option number 2, like we mentioned, which is half and half. We're hoping that that's not the route. We're hoping to open full like normal, and which is option number 1. but the way it's looking, option number 2 is probably what it might end up being. So every child coming in, their temperature will be checked, because that's the easiest way of first line to tell, is there something potentially wrong? Of course, nothing is foolproof, but to the best of our ability and what's available to us, we're going to be checking everyone's temperature coming in. And of course, like I mentioned, all the gloves and masks and hand sanitizers and the wipes and all that will be all throughout. There'll be, as far as the social distancing, where to stand, so on and so forth. All of those things will be in place. And so our children are, you said it so perfectly. They are our most precious commodity, if I could use that word loosely.
Yes, they are.
And so we have to take every measure to make sure they're safe. And so that's why we have 3 action plans in motion, because they need school, but we're not going to open school because the administration is saying to open and put their safety at risk. We're going to do it smart, and we're going to do what we have control over. And so, like I said, when they come in, those safety measures will be in place. If we do find that someone is temperature a little bit high, then they'll not be allowed in the building, because that's, everyone's safety is paramount. If everyone clears to come in and we'll find out there's an issue, like I said, there's a standard mandatory 14-day quarantine. But I want the parents to know that everything that we are able to do to assure the safety of the parents coming in and the children coming in, we're going to do that. And when I said parents, I forgot to mention this. Parents are used to coming and dropping the kids off with someone coming in the building. They're not going to be allowed in the building, the parents, and just drop them off in front and let the kids come in. Again, it's not that we don't want them in the building, but again, we have to take every safety measure possible. So the children will come in because they have to be there. The parents don't have to be in the building, so they will not be allowed in the building. So it's little things like those. We ask for the parents' understanding, and so right now we're not getting a pushback in that, because they understand why we're doing. You can tell somebody what you're doing, but if they don't understand what you're doing, why you're doing what you're doing, then it makes no sense. So we try to take the time to explain to them why we're doing what we're doing, and we're finding that is very being received very well.
Appreciative, right? And it's receptive, right?
Right.
Because
exactly.
then they thinking like, oh, you're not just trying to prevent me from seeing, like, that's that part where we're asking parents to give grace, right? We're asking parents to really, really give a little bit of grace. But at the same time, parents are like, we're going to need you to protect our babies, because if you don't, we're going to be in your buildings.
Right.
And we are going to be in your phone boxes, inboxes and all of that. Like, no,
Amen.
you have not done what we need you to do for our children.
Correct.
So with that being said, thank you, Wayne. This has been enlightening. I thank you for being willing to come on and share. And how can people get in touch with you or your program if need be?
My pleasure. Thank you so much. So www.axelschools.com. That's a website. And all the list of all the schools are there. All their content information is there. So if they do that, my personal cell number is 248-403-4043. Doubles as my work as well. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. And
so y'all heard that. If y'all got a complaint about Axel Schools, y'all better call Wayne too. Wayne knows.
I appreciate you, Bernita.
Yes. So y'all got his personal number now. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you. Over the Midwest region for Axel Schools. Parents, I really like to tell you, share this information and be on the forefront of asking these questions. I don't know if I asked as many questions as I probably could have. We only have 45 minutes, right? But continuously keep engaged, keep your avenues open with the schools. And if they're not answering questions, push back and ask them all over again and more and more and more. Find a Wayne Ramakin who's over a district or some stuff and ask them because we need to know when we send our babies back to school, and educators need to know how they're being protected. So thank you, Wayne. Again, thank you, National Parent Union, for this platform and allowing us to host another show. I shall see you Friday on the Apparent Voice at 4 o'clock. This is Bernita Bradley signing off. We got great program down there and great questions. So thank you. I'm looking online as we're online. So I'm hoping that I asked as many questions. If not, you guys go back in and ask those questions. I will actually get those questions to Wayne, and actually you can, because now you have his cell phone number.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Wayne.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me,
Wayne.
Brandon. It's good to see you.
Love you, and have
Take
a good
care.
day.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Be blessed. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you, Wayne.